ACSA has, of course, outlined then its maintenance and refurbishment plans that will be rolled over the next few years, that 21 billion rand plan. And it follows, of course, the scrutiny that ACSA faced when we saw the jet fuel issues in December, as well as those Volve issues causing flight delays as well as some cancellations. But to give us an indication of what's come out of today's presentation, I'm going to turn now to the CEO of ACSA, Mpofu. CEO, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. You've mentioned today that you plan on turning your airports network into a construction site. Talk to us about what that looks like from, should passengers be concerned about flight delays? What does that look like?
Thank you very much for that question. We've just had a stakeholder engagement with the airlines, the ground handlers, and the stakeholders who were providing an update around the maintenance program. And as we start in this year in earnest, after the beginning of the financial year, we see some of their very important maintenance programs rolling out. The airport, and across all of the airports, there is extensive work that is going to be undertaken. As we had previously indicated, COVID hit us in 2020. The permission was allocated to us in December 2023. It became effective, gazetted in January 2024, became effective on the 1st of April 2024. The last 12 months have really been about planning, design work and extensive works of just preparing, rescheduling, condition assessment, and really assessing where we're going to prioritize. In the end, we're quite clear that all of the 9 ACSA airports are going to benefit extensively from this maintenance, refurbishment, and rehabilitation program. There's even a capacity element, which is about growing the size of the airport to meet projected traffic figures in the future. So as we roll out in the maintenance program, I'm sure some passengers have already experienced it. We have boarded up areas that are priority, where we are, for instance, replacing escalators, and that does cause some level of inconvenience. But we had to make a choice between the impact of COVID over 5 years, where we've not been able to implement this extensive program, and the amount of time that would take if we chose to only implement, let's say, at night when there are no or very few flights. We just estimated that it would take far too long to implement this particular program, and passengers would feel the pain or the discomfort that has come with very constrained spaces, with areas that have not been operating efficiently, and that actually has brought us to the approach where we've agreed that we need to implement and implement live. Now, what does implement live mean? It means we're not going to shut down the airport or parts thereof and implement this program. The airport continues to operate on plus minus 24-hour basis, and that means passengers are going to have to work with us. We've boarded up areas for escalators. Now sometimes you'll be asked to take a flight of stairs instead of enjoy the convenience of an escalator whilst we fix the one that we have. But we really believe that by running a live construction process, we'll actually finish sooner rather than later. And we know South Africans are impatient. The extensive amount of work we're going to do here is almost as extensive, if not more, than what we did in 2010. So all of the terminals are looking at improvement, extension, rehabilitation. There are new systems that are going to be implemented across, new baggage system, new security X-ray, smart detection equipment. We're doing a whole lot of work. What we've been able to share with you today are the more urgent ones, such as the ablution facilities, such as the terminal operating space, where, for instance, commuters in Cape Town would know that on a Friday afternoon, the Cape Town departure area is really quite tight. But we'll have to work with that and ensure that we are building whilst the terminal continues to operate. We're going to be expanding that particular space, and we're going to, in OR Tambo, bringing exciting new programs. There is a boarding area on the air side called the C area, which is very dark and dingy. In that area, we're opening up and bringing an expanded terminal area. There's busing gates that are going to be introduced on the other side, where you take regional flights, and the whole terminal is really going to be expanded. There's an old part of OR Tambo, the original Jan Smuts Airport, which is dark and dingy just before international departures. And that really is going to be changed so that it has a modern feel, but also is supported by state-of-the-art instrumentation and systems that allow for passengers to go through on the international side.
CEO, just to come in there, speaking of OR Tambo, talk to us about the plans that have been made, because we saw in December the jet fuel valves, that was an issue. Is that now confidently out the way?
Oh, yes. I think what we've managed to do with the incident in December is we conducted an investigation. We're able to determine what had caused the valve to crack, and basically we're taking measures to actually implement a program. First and foremost, I must indicate that we had an incident in December that was related to a valve, but we had an incident in February, an overall jet fuel insecurity because NATREF had a fire, and that forced us to have very limited supplies of fuel. Now, those two incidences have taught us a lesson, and that lesson is quite simply to expand the jet fuel infrastructure, firstly by introducing the bypass that we promised everybody in December. Secondly, we've now approved 2 projects for a 20-inch jet line that's basically going to be implemented. There are 2 of those. One of them is basically now until March 2026. The next one is going to be implemented from then on. But in addition to that, because of the NATREF incident, we've reviewed even our fuel tank capacity. OR Tambo consumes 3.5 million liters of jet fuel a day. And by definition, we would have had 10 days of contingency in the old fuel capacity. We've decided to expand that and add potentially another 5 additional days to that, so that when we have either international supply disruptions, a vessel does not arrive at sea in Durban on time, we are not able to pump it up the Transnet pipeline on time, or we have a fire again at a refinery, just to increase that contingency to about 15 days will get us to a much better place. And the way we do that is by increasing our fuel tank capacity at OR Tambo, because we don't see a day when OR Tambo has less consumption. In fact, that consumption is likely to just increase over that period, and therefore catering for a bigger buffer of jet fuel supply on the platform is going to help eliminate those problems.